Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy Monday to you here. April the 11th, finally the regular season is done with, and now we get to focus on the playoffs in the association. We got some play-in games, we've got matchups already known, a whole lot of good stuff here. Of course, depending on what happens over the next 3 or 4 days, that'll determine the Miami Heat's opponent, and others. So we got a lot here to kind of take a look at and break down, and we're going to do it with three of the finest all season long, as Andy Lang in the house, the NBA prop god here. Rob Vino wouldn't miss it as he gets to make fun of Tony Finn, who also joining us here today. TF in the house, gentlemen. Happy Monday to you. So, Andy, the regular season done with. Now, of course, we get to focus in on the playoffs. We're going to talk some prop strategy here in a few, but in addition to the NBA, what else, if anything, do you have ready to rock and roll up at WagerTalk.com on a $9 Monday?
Oh, we have one baseball play up. We're off to a rip-roaring 2-1 start, so it's better than 0-3, I guess. So, but nothing to brag. Boom, nothing to brag about in MLB. The last week was incredible. Cashed 5% soccer play. It was very exciting. We had the Masters, all that stuff. So, actually looking forward to this week. A little bit calm down, get ready for the playoffs. So, a lot of good lines. You got to be doing your research now. You got to get ready for NBA playoffs, and you got to be looking up these numbers now so you're ready. Don't wait until the day of, because you're going to get a lot of games every single night, and you don't want to be playing catch up, and you don't want to be behind on the stats. So really encourage everyone to look up their numbers, get them dialed in, and that's certainly what I'll be doing this week.
All right, good stuff there. And Rob Vino, we know he's dialed in. MLB, of course, underway. Rob, I know you've been diving into that. You're ready for the playoffs here, like the rest of us. So what do you got? What do you got in store for us tonight? $9 Monday at Wager Talk. What do you got, man?
Yeah, I actually did release one NBA playoff series price selection today, Joe. Got one of those up and available right now, along with Major League Baseball, a best bet, along with a couple of other plays for this evening. So it's a pretty full card for a $9 Monday night, 4 plays in all. Like Andy said, we're researching early. You probably want to get to these series prices early before they get destroyed midweek, late week, and you don't get the numbers that we're seeing here today. Yesterday, a nice 6-0 to conclude the NBA season, so we're looking forward to heading in here and doing a good job in the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And I thought what we would do here, guys, is get your thoughts on some of these future odds here. As you can see them, guys, on the left side of the screen, as well as we got the play-in tournament there. But Eastern Conference, Western Conference, we've got the Bucks as the favorite in the East, even though they're not the number 1 seed. They'll be taking on Chicago in the first round here. And, of course, the Phoenix Suns, which I don't know that anybody's going to argue. They should be as chalky as ass to win the West here. But talk to me here, Rob Vino, about the Eastern Conference, Western Conference, some of these favorites here. I guess the East really stands out to me, with Miami being nearly a 5-1, situation here, with the Bucks being a much shorter price. Defending champs, I get it. But who is undervalued? Who might be overvalued, do you think, in the East?
Well, the Bucks have the tougher road, right? Because they're going to be in that bracket with the Celtics. And if, in fact, they do meet the Celtics, that would mean that Robert Williams would be back by that point. If it's not the Celtics, Joe, it could very well be the Brooklyn Nets, who, Boston was really between a rock and a hard place yesterday. They needed to win the game. They were sitting at number 3. They needed to win to avoid the 4-5 against Toronto. They didn't want to play Toronto. But if you win the game, Milwaukee had already lost. That meant Boston was going to jump to 2. Milwaukee gets the benefit. They fall to 3 and get the Bulls. That's what everybody wanted. Milwaukee wound up with it. And now Boston could very well wind up with the Nets as the 7. And by the time they play, from the reports that we're seeing now, perhaps you have Ben Simmons in tow if you're the Brooklyn Nets. So that's a very tough bracket, which if you're just speaking strictly from a value standpoint, I guess Miami's the team. They've got the softer bracket, the softer way to the Eastern Conference Championship. And at that point, you can always hedge your way out. So I think if you're talking just strictly value, not which team you think is the best or any of that stuff, Miami's in a pretty good position to find their way into the final if they don't mess things up. And at that point, you can make other bets to get yourself lock up a secure profit.
Good stuff there. And what do you think, Tony Finn? Talk to me about the West here. We all get Phoenix. You've been screaming Phoenix, and I'll give you credit. And don't tell anybody, and I'll never admit to this outside of this one moment. But you have been screaming Phoenix and Phoenix futures for a while now to hop on them to win the West. Clearly the favorite, the better team to represent the Western Conference. But is there another team you wouldn't sleep on if it isn't Phoenix here?
I think it's a great question because as of yesterday when I did my final, I have pretty much pushed in all I'm going to push in on Phoenix, but I wouldn't begrudge anyone if they said, you know what, I'm going to jump in now, probably a day late, to get real value on Phoenix. But if there's another team, I searched it yesterday. I looked at Golden State. Actually, I played the Golden State under yesterday thinking this game's going to be because of the starting lineups, I felt like it was going to be a game that was going to be low scoring. It didn't turn out that way. The 70-point fourth didn't help me much, but and it should have been that way. But is there a team in the West that is healthy enough to challenge Phoenix right now? I don't think there is. The healthiest team is probably a team that I have faded most this year and suffered somewhat from doing so, and that's Dallas. I don't think they have a secondary shooters that help Doncic. And Golden State, who knows who's going to be playing? I would have originally said, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, before Curry got hurt, Joe, I would have said it's all Golden State. But at this point in time, I wish I had an answer for you. But right now, I would say it is. I still believe it to be the Suns. Nothing but the Suns. So help me, whoever wants to.
A lot of chalk there in the West, but it's deserved so. So depending on the health of Golden State, Memphis, Dallas, it really is top-heavy there. And, Andy, nobody made more money NBA prop-wise than you this year, man. You absolutely crushed it. So now that we head into the playoffs, is there a team or a player, somebody that you're excited, looking forward to coming up either in the East or the West here from a prop betting perspective?
Yeah, I got to add in a couple sprinkles. Tony was talking about Phoenix and everything. I'm pretty surprised I haven't heard Memphis mentioned. I just love this team. Here's my favorite thing about them. They appear to be somewhat injury proof. They will put anybody on the court and run with you. And they have this irrational confidence that is, it could be really good or really bad in the playoffs, but they're not scared of anybody. And if anyone on that team twists an ankle, it's next man up. I feel like that could be Phoenix's vulnerability. Now, if they're healthy, they're going to probably waltz their way into and be rested probably when they get to the finals. But Booker gets an ankle. If Chris Paul has an injury or something, that's my only worry. I think the Grizzlies are a pretty good value. And I like Boston at plus 425. I'm looking at it right now on DraftKings and FanDuel. I think when they get Robert Williams back, they go back to just being one of the best defensive teams, if not the best. The East doesn't scare me. It's just full of teams that I think you can poke holes in. And I think at their peak, Boston, you can make the case as the best, and I don't feel like they're priced that way. So I do like Grizzlies and the Celtics. Props wise, I'll give you. I'm spilling some of my best secrets here. This is in the first series. Okay, so Pascal Siakam, he's averaged 38 and 8 in 3 games against Philly, and all 3 of those games Joel Embiid played in. Pascal Siakam has done well against Philadelphia, and I guarantee the books are not going to put up his points, his rebounds, and assists at that price. He has done really, really well. So I would look for Pascal Siakam to have a really good game, and not to mention, especially when they're at home, because Philly's going to be down Tybal. So that's one less defender inside. And Embiid, with all this talk for MVP, his defense just hasn't been there. That's going to be a sneaky one that most is going to overlook. I will be all over that. In that same series, Harden has played Toronto twice since being with Philly. He's only scored 17 and 13 points. They do a great job on him in the perimeter, and you'll forgive me if I don't believe in James Harden in the playoffs. You'll just forgive me if I don't expect him to take over a series. Sorry. So those are. I really have my eye on that series. I think I'm going to be playing that series pretty strong, especially with those two.
Listen, fair enough. No argument there. Trying to bank on Harden. Hey, listen, if he has a night, you can make a lot of money, but good luck figuring out which night that's going to be. That's always been the problem. But before we can crown a champion in the East and the West, and of course in overall, we've got to figure out who some of these top seeds, like Phoenix, like Miami, well, who the hell are they going to play? We're going to figure that out beginning tomorrow, guys, as the play-in begins. And the first game up tomorrow, which is the one we'll break down here for you, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. That when it was all said and done yesterday, they are the ones taking on the Brooklyn Nets. -8 as a opening number. That total 230 and a half here is what we're seeing. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, guys. This is going to be the first game, and of course at night, Minnesota is in action as well, taking on the Clippers, which should also be pretty good. But let's talk about the East here, and let's take a look at some of the numbers here from these two teams this year. And when you look at it, it's not that you're looking about 113 points a game for Brooklyn, 108 for Cleveland. Obviously, defensively, it appears one team likes to play defense and the other team not so much. 105, I believe that is top 5, by the way, for Cleveland defensively this year. But you'll notice the numbers on the bottom there, guys, head-to-head this year. Split. And we just saw a game not too long ago. So, Rob Vino, let me start with you here, man. The Nets, we know all about their inability to be able to cover at home here. 2-2. What do you think? Who wins the tiebreaker 5th game between these two teams?
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe, because as usual, the way it's meant to be in sports betting, the point spread becomes the great equalizer. Mm-hmm. And at 8.5, I feel like, my first inclination is to play Cleveland. Back to your point about these two teams playing each other recently, the same exact lineups that were on the floor on April the 8th are going to be on the floor, April the 12th. You're talking about 4 days difference. And in that game, Brooklyn wins by 11. In Brooklyn, same players, same everything. So, when you look at that, you think, well, maybe 8.5 isn't steep enough. I would say this. I throw those overall season defensive statistics in the garbage where the Brooklyn Nets are concerned, because for me, it comes down to effort with the Nets and the 2 games that we've seen that they've treated as real games. And then I'm going to add to it the fourth quarter of this past Cleveland game. But again, I'm repetitive when I say this because I know I've been on this show and said it before, but when I go back to the 10th of March, Ben Simmons homecoming in Philadelphia, the Nets absolutely frustrated the entire Philadelphia 76er team. Sixers were favorite that night. I remember saying at that point we had to show that day if Philly can't win this game, they better forget about beating the Nets in a playoff series. And they did everything defensively necessary to take the entire Nets team, or excuse me, the Sixers team out of the game. They come back about 9 days later, and they have another game that they treat as significant. The Miami Heat. Miami had all their starters in that game. Nets hold Miami under 100 points. When they've wanted to play defense, they've played defense. I'm of the belief that during this run of KD and Kyrie Irving that, those guys didn't want to get into foul trouble. So they shied away from defense a little bit. In the Cleveland game that just took place 4 days ago, you got to note that the Nets were trailing in that game by 5 heading into the fourth quarter when they buckled down and held Cleveland to 19 fourth quarter points and won the game going away. So again, it just seems to me that when they want to play defense, when they're fully committed, they can do it. So the season statistics to me mean nothing. But the question becomes, do they think that this Cleveland game is significant, or do they think they can beat Cleveland and not have to worry about buckling down on defense? It's a tough question to answer, Joe, because we've seen both sides of the Nets. But I think they're going to treat this one as pretty serious. They don't want to get into a situation where, it's their next play-in game and have the opportunity to fall out entirely. I might trust the Nets defense here, but like I say, 8.5 just seems too large to me to lay.
Kind of tough expecting a team that hasn't done anything as far as covering spreads and all of a sudden going to flip that switch and voila, they're in. They're all of a sudden going to become a different team. Glass slipper and all, that's just not the way it works. Talk to me, Andy. We've seen these two teams. We've seen them play 4 games already. So from a prop betting perspective, how have you approached it, and what might you be looking at in this game?
Well, first, I'm going to probably jump on Darius Garland. He may not like me jumping on him, but I'm going to take his over 25.5 points. The big thing for me is the last time they played, he played 41 minutes. He's got to be on what are you saving him for? So expect a huge minutes. He was 12 of 24 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3-pointers, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line, and he had 31 points. I mean, let's face it. He's going to be their leading scorer again if all things go right. He's going to get the most shot attempts. They don't have very many guys that can – actually, he may be the only guy besides LeVert from time to time who can create their own shot. And I get what Rob is saying about getting down on defense. I just think Garland is that good. I think he should get there. And then Kyrie's an interesting one because if you look at what Kyrie has done recently, he's kind of torched the really bad team. 35 against the Pacers, but only 18 against Cleveland. And his point total is 28.5 now. He had 24 against the Knicks, and then he torched the Rockets and the Hawks. But then you look, he's gone under against the Bucks and the Pistons and the Hornets and the Heat. So he has these big games, but I just wonder if, I don't know if this is he kind of turns the keys over to Durant. I'm probably going to stay off of Kyrie and Durant, focus my attention on Garland. It's probably the best prop in this game.
All right, going to focus on Garland. How about you, Tony Finn? Feels like an awful lot of points that a team that usually doesn't do very well at home plays no defense. I don't know. Are you willing to lay the 8.5? You're going to take it? You're looking at the total? What are you doing here, Finn?
Well, thank you. If I was listening to you, the way you just laid that out, I think it's real accurate. I think it's spot on. And in that case, I would probably say, well, screw the spread. Then let's just go over the total in this game. I believe. Listen, there's a lot of reasons to believe, as Rob just described, that the Nets can play defense or change their scheme to some degree to isolate specific players and be better defensively. In this game, Rob asked the question. I believe that the Nets know that under the best circumstances for Cleveland and a pedestrian or average night for the Nets, they're going to outscore Cleveland. They just have that many more weapons offensively. Let's put it this way: since the All-Star break, Cleveland hasn't been the same defensively. Much of that to do to their defense, injuries. But look at the last if you look at the last 15 games, Cleveland, and some of the totals are high, some of them low, obviously, depends on what bookmakers have done, but they've raised the totals slowly, but surely in the second half of this season, especially in the latter part. 10, and I think the 10 overs, 10 and 15, 10 overs, 5 unders. And one of the unders was this game, though. One of them was against Cleveland that won that 11-point victory. However, it's a different animal. Again, Cleveland knows where they're at, what they have to do. They're going to have to score. They're not going to hold the Nets to 120 or less. If they do, then they may win this game. But give me the over. Give me the Cavs on a money line. I'm certainly not going to lay it. I'm not going to do it.
All right. Not going to do it. Not going to trust it. Not going to take the points. Seems to be a lot of that. And since Kyrie's been allowed to play at the Barclays, guys, just 1-5. Brooklyn Nets against the number. So it's a lot. It feels like a lot of points, but having said that, Durant will probably drop 63 and Kyrie will drop 58, and that'll be the end of it. So it's going to be an interesting one, guys. Tomorrow in the East, 7 o'clock, just after 7 p.m. Eastern time, will be the tip-off for that one. A quick note here, guys, before we talk about some best bets here that you may like tomorrow coming up. Frank Vogel, I can't believe he's been fired, Lakers head coach, which is such a shock because, I mean, really, obviously, everything that went wrong with the Lakers was absolutely Frank Vogel's fault. And I'm shocked. But it's interesting looking at some of the odds of people who are in line to get the next Lakers job. I see there's somebody here, a Hakeem Prophet. And I didn't see that coming. Hakeem Prophet at 50-1. So we'll see. Our very own Ski could quite in fact. You may have to give him back that Laker jersey, Tony Finn. Ski Prophet could be. Listen, my money. I'm on Ski Prophet, the next Lakers head coach here. But Nick Nurse, in all seriousness, is the one that is at the top of that list, the favorite. And Juwan Howard. What do you think, Vino? Juwan Howard from Michigan. You think he could hold off and smack some of the Lakers players? What do you? I mean, Juwan Howard has got to be the worst suggestion. I don't know that Juwan Howard will trade. Although, listen, he did great as an assistant with Spoelstra and company, but I don't know. It's a different beast than where he's dealing with at Michigan, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, but as you mentioned, Joe, he's been in the pro game for a lot of years. So there's no doubt he knows about the 82-game grind, and he probably is very, very good at handling the personalities of the profession.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, Joe, on that list, who's the idiot on that list? Because that's who would take this job. As if LeBron's still there, you're an idiot.
That's a good point, too. Yeah, Fizdale's on there, Cam Cassell. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, look at it. It's Fizdale, it's Cassell, Quinn Snyder, Steve Clifford is on this list, which is great. Why is Doc Rivers leaving the Clippers to go to the Lake? Like, I mean, Philadelphia to come back west. I don't get it. But how about D'Antoni? You like that? You like that for a name they're throwing out there? Mark Jackson. D'Antoni. What do you think? Mark Jackson from the booth to the Lakers, and we know he'd be a company mate. He'd be like, yes, LeBron. No, LeBron. Whatever you want, LeBron.
What about Magic Johnson? Magic.
Not on the list. Kurt Rambis. And here's the best one. You ready? Bill Self is on the list. Bill Self is going to leave Kansas to go to the Lakers. I swear. Calipari. Oh, my God. This list is priceless here, guys. But it'll be interesting. Single digits. Fizdale, Cassell, Nick Nurse, and Quinn Snyder. And I don't see any of those guys. I don't see Nick Nurse leaving Toronto anytime soon, especially if they do some damage here in the playoffs. It's going to be an interesting coaching search, shall we say. All right, let's talk some best bets here, guys. 2 games tomorrow. The East and the West, the play-in sides, who will be the 7th seed and who will automatically get ready to play. And it looks like at this point, the 7th seed will be playing the Boston Celtics. And, of course, the 7th seed will also be playing the Memphis Grizzlies on the West. So, Andy, start us off here. Best bet. You got one coming up in those games tomorrow?
Yeah, I got a couple to talk about here. The Bucks and the Bulls series. You could, if the series goes only 4 games, it's plus 280. If it goes 5 games, it's plus 200. I think you could sprinkle both. I think Chicago gets blown out in this series. Milwaukee won by 21 on April 5th. There was no Levine. March 22nd, Milwaukee wins by 22. No Middleton. March 4th, Milwaukee wins by 6. In the month of April, the Bulls are the worst defensive rated team. They're just behind the Pacers. So I don't see Chicago competing. I think you could take 4 games or 5 games. But you want an individual player prop. Look at Patrick Beverley under 10.5 points. Here's his point totals the last few games: 5, 8, 9, 10, 7, 10, 9, 8, 3. So that sounds pretty good. I'll take Patrick Beverley under 10.5 points. MLB plays up at WagerTalk.com, and we'll start having playoff plays up. But I will also say I would love for Ski Profit to be the coach of the Lakers, because whenever he comes out, if he would come out with a player prop on the Lakers, you better take it, because he knows something.
That's a good point. I think he's got a better shot than Terry Stotts does. All right, come on, Robino. 60 seconds here. Tell me about a bet you're thinking about making there in one of these games tomorrow.
I think I'm going to look at Minnesota and the Clippers over the number, Joe. It's 230. I know that LA somehow gets associated with defense. They had to play it that way when they didn't have Paul George and Norman Powell in the lineup. But since George has come back, that offense has really taken off. This series is interesting, the season series, because 3 of the 4 games, they were Minnesota's 2nd, 3rd, and 6th of the season. Those the 4 games that they played were played way back between November 5th and November 13th. Paul George involved in all of those. He played well in all of those. Minnesota, a totally different team from Game 7 to now Game 82. I don't know that you can impose any will on them. And I also think LA is going to be forced to go small up front here. They like to start Batum and Morris, but which one of those two is going to guard Anthony Edwards? I think you're more likely to see Norman Powell and Terrence Mann spend a lot of minutes on the floor, which to me increases pace. I think this 230 number is too low in a Minnesota game. I'll play it over.
Yep. Can't argue with that. Can't ever sweat out an under in a Minnesota Timberwolves game. You got to be out of your hell no. Talk to me here, Tony Finn. 2 games tomorrow. I know your vote is for Ski to get the Lakers job. You're going to lay that as well. So tell me, give me a best bet tomorrow for us.
I can probably actually get that Lakers jersey if he gets that job. I'll give him a couple jerseys, right? Yeah, well, real quickly, I'm gonna. I like, as I mentioned, a little fairy dust never hurts anything. I bring it on. I need an over tomorrow in the Clipper or in the Cavs game. I like that play. That's my best bet on that one. The Wolves, I don't understand this line a whole lot. I trust the Timberwolves to play a little basketball tomorrow. They haven't done it for the last couple of weeks. And thirdly, Drummond in that Nets game, over 11.5 rebounds, 12 rebounds in 24 minutes, 9 rebounds in 18 minutes, 2 of the last 3 games. I think 14 in the last game, over 11.5 against the Cleveland team is going to throw up some bricks. There you go.
Boom! Oh, wait. Very nice. That is impressive there. But do not forget, guys, good news, it is $9 Monday right now over at WagerTalk.com. So best bets for these guys, MLB plays. Rob Dino talked about having a series play up already. And, you know, Andy, he's got a baseball play ready to go. It is a fun time of year, guys, with the NBA playoffs coming. And, of course, MLB from a prop betting perspective, first 5 sides total, all good stuff available right now. $9 from these 3 guys over at WagerTalk.com. And to recap one more time here, Andy Lang is looking at Patrick Beverley to under 10.5 points. Yeah, well, if he's scoring points, that means he ain't playing defense. So Rob Vinos is good. Over 230, I can tell you that right now. Over 230 with the Clippers and the Timberwolves. That's where Rob's looking. And another total, in fact, for Tony Finn with the Cavs Nets tomorrow, over 228.5, and he likes Drummond to get some boards there, over 11.5 for them. So keep an eye, guys, on the market. And, of course, keep an eye over at WagerTalk.com with Andy, with Rob, and with Tony Finn, all NBA playoff season long here. So much more to get to. So much getting ready to happen, too. We got even more games. And, of course, all of it, once everything is settled with this play-in tournament, the weekend will be here, and the fun gets to start here. So good stuff, guys. On behalf of Andy, Rob, Vino, and Tony Finn, guys, we appreciate the time. Hit the bell in the upper right-hand corner. Make plans to come back. Join us again tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the other playing games. We'll take a look at some of those updated championship odds, and we'll see if we can make it an extremely profitable NBA playoffs. But until then, guys, best of luck with your plays tonight. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
The NBA playoffs start April 16th, and with the play-in games, there are now 20 teams vying for the NBA championship. The 2022 playoffs give you up to 9 weeks of action, with game number 1 of the NBA Finals not even tipping off until June 2nd. Last year, the NBA playoff package was listed for $249, but we've made it even better this year by lowering the entire 9-week playoff package to $199. While the early bird catches the worm may be a cliche, but it holds true to this incredible offer. The first 99 customers can use the coupon code FIRST99 and save an additional $50 off the playoff package, dropping the price down to $149. That's right, 9 weeks of NBA action for $149. That's under $17 per week. Act fast to use code FIRST99, as only the first 99 customers